What is up, everyone? Welcome back to KN Lexi. Today we decided to do a little something that's different for our normal content. We decided to do something that is a little bit informative. It's Mother's Day and we are still on lockdown. There's not much that we can do, so we have to make do with what we can. So we decided to do a photo shoot for Lexi and Gigi. I'm gonna set up the backdrop and yeah, it's gonna be like a behind the scenes type of video. So we are imparting knowledge today, so stay tuned. Let's look at the camera basics first. How digital cameras work is that the camera has a sensor which is in there. In this instance, this is a DSLR, so in front of the sensor there is a mirror. So the mirror flips out of the way and then exposes the sensor to light. The light is going to be dependent on the exposure triangle, which is your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. Now, for ISO, because we are outside and there's plenty light, we need to set that to the lowest number that it can go. On this camera, it's a ISO 100. So we set it to 100 and we'll leave it at that, because the higher you raise your ISO, the noisier the picture becomes. Next thing to look at is the aperture. The aperture is nothing but the opening on the lens. So the bigger that opening on the lens, the bigger the aperture. So this lens is the Nifty 50. It's an f1.8. We call it a fast lens, a fast aperture lens, because if you can open up that aperture, then you can let in more light, which means you can make your shutter speed faster and also give you a blurry background that is associated with professional portraits. Essentially, the more light you can let in by opening up the aperture, the blurrier the background and the brighter the image is going to be. So if you want me to get into the basics of the exposure triangle, let me know down in the comments below and I'll do a dedicated video for that. Today the video is a photo shoot for Mother's Day. There are essentially two ways that you can get a blurry background. It's the aperture. If you get a fast lens like an f1.8, you can open it all the way up to f1.8, and then the background from the subject that you selected, that you focused on, is going to be blurry. Or you put on a long lens. The other way of getting a blurry background is compression. If you get a long lens, like a telephoto lens, the more you zoom into the subject, the more compressed the background is going to be, and it's going to be thrown out of focus. It's also going to look blurry. Let's talk shutter speed. Light can enter the sensor via the open shutter and then expose the sensor to light, which then makes your image brighter if the shutter speed is open for longer, or darker if it's open for a short amount of time. What you need to know about shutter is, if you're shooting handheld, like I'm gonna be shooting now, you need to have your shutter speed at a minimum of at least 1/100. That's the shutter speed. It needs to be fast enough to eliminate any shake, because as a person, if I'm not shooting on a tripod and I'm shooting handheld, the shutter needs to open up quickly to capture the image before I introduce any blurriness. Unless if you're shooting on a tripod, then you can put the shutter speed to however long that you want, and it can open up for that long. You need to have it at minimum of 1/100 so that you can expose the light for a shorter period of time, so that you can capture the image without introducing any shake. We are ready to get started. Enjoy.